place of power should draw from it.
Hi guys. I'm going to show you the 10 easiest tips to create a lively world to make your level look less artificial in the REDkit for The Witcher 3. So, let's begin. Rise plus shift. When you create your mountains and hills and slopes, it's very time consuming if you change your settings with the radius and intensity, always clicking into the window that you see on the right side. It's much easier to use shift in combination with your mouse scroll and with the click of your mouse, with the left click to be precise. Therefore, you can change the radius with your mouse wheel, and also if you hold shift and scroll the wheel of your mouse, you also will be able to change the intensity. Therefore, just doing random strokes here and there, you can flatten your terrain without using the flatten brush, and this you can create believable mountains and hills and also some paths that Geralt can use in the future. Second one, low probability equals tiny bumps. If you have a look into your terrain, it's pretty flat. You have repeatable tiles that have this weird pattern, and it really makes my eyes hurt. So if you change the probability of your rise brush and put the intensity to a very low setting, you can create multiple sets of tiny bumps that create a believable ground texture, kind of ground that is rough and uneven because it has some dust and whatnot, really. You can find a lot of interesting things under your feet if you look at it. So don't be afraid to make a big radius for your brush and just go all over your terrain. 2.1 Aggressive bumps. If you use a flattened brush and try to create the same effect, you can do that. Also set probability to a lower level and make the bigger radius for your brush, and you will see that it actually creates more sharp and rough edges. I found it's quite useful for the area, like the area near the shore, to create a bumpy shoreline, and for the tops of your mountain because it creates this very interesting sharp edges. So if it suits you, it's a cool tool. 3. Smooth fix. I don't know where exactly I have this weird looking kind of tunnels, but it definitely appeared from the rise and flatten brushes. So to have an easy and smooth fix, you need to choose the brush that's called smooth. Don't forget to save your world, by the way. You change the intensity and just paint over this really weird looking piece of terrain, and it fixes itself pretty easy without any extra work, and you can do it all over the places that you already done and then you found that it looks bad. 4. Right mouse button to paint textures. The last time I did it with the lake that I created in this terrain, I actually made a mistake, so I don't need to only click it with my left mouse button, I also need to use the right one. Then you will see this green frame. It will be also useful if you change set parameter to a higher number, and therefore you will have a smooth looking brush that will cover whatever terrain you have, creating believable patterns of an actual looking ground and mountains and lowlands and meadows and whatnot, really. 4.1 Layers. It actually means working with your textures in layers. So if you covered too much of a particular side of the terrain and you see that it looks artificial. Just change the probability of your brush, change the radius, play with the settings, and then cover it with some basic green texture of a grass. You can see now that changing the radius and working all over the terrain saves time, create a believable looking texture, and also you can create these smooth layers with easy strokes to see how gradually the grass changes to the mountain texture. The same thing can happen with the shoreline. You choose a different tile, for example, stones mixed with grass, and you cover it with a brush big like this, and you see this curve like a circle lines. Once again, to smoothen it up, to create a dynamic texture that changes from grass to stones, you need to change this setting to the basic grass style, change the set parameter, and chaotically work with your brush. It will fix everything in a couple of minutes, even seconds if you're fast enough. 5. Melt the rough. After all this rises and flattening tiny bumps technique, if you find that it looks a bit too sharp and rough for you, you can always choose the melt brush to smoothen the terrain and actually fix what you have done. I'm not sure that I'm okay with the shoreline, so I made it a little bit softer, and honestly it worked. So here is the overlook of the whole level that I've already done. It looks more lively. It has enough base for creating the forest. So these hills and mountains are important because they will be forest territory. And creating a forest around the whole level will help me create a natural border. The player will understand that the main thing happens in the center where the lake is and not where the forest is. 6. Hill base for layered vegetation. The same as we work with textures to create a believable terrain, it's really important to set your vegetations into a particular base. So I chose a different type of forest brushes. You can copy them because I chose them based on the heights. So one set of trees is higher than the other, and I put them all over the hills, and therefore it helps me to create the layered forests, which is cool. It gives me opportunity to spend less time creating something that I can look at. So if you change the radius of your vegetation brush, you will have either less or more plants, trees, whatever, while you are painting. At this point, my laptop started acting crazy because it was too difficult for it to load everything. So this is our checkpoint number 2 or 3. So basically I created the needed amount of trees and hills to make the overall look natural, believable, more lively, and you can see that some trees are floating. It's because they're standing on the hills or mountains and my laptop can't really load everything. But if you make a closer look, if you go closer, everything loads perfectly fine. So now we are going to the next stage of our adventure, and it is batches of life, or less is more. As I already told you in one of my previous videos, it's better to avoid over-detailed scene because you don't give an opportunity to your eye catch whatever vegetation or object you're placing, for example, on a hill. Here, it's very important to choose layered textures again. So I have different sets of grass and bushes and flowers, so I put them here and there and hold shift to remove the extra circles to make it more chaotic, and therefore I create another layer of a believable world. 8. Decorative objects. We already know how to drag and put objects into the world, and I used the simple approach as usual, just tried to find the particular assets in the asset browser. The funny thing that I noticed is that this tool, this editor, has separate files for decorations inside the house and the house itself. As you can see, it's a very interesting detail that gives more creative opportunities. For example, you could create a charmed, enchanted house that has no walls, but it has all the objects in there, and build a quest around it. But for now, let's just find some simple houses, water wells, or whatever, any objects that could create a point of interest. Therefore, by a very simple routine, you can create an abandoned village, for example, and it will look nice, especially in the sunset. So let's leave it there, and now we will go to one of the final parts of our today's video. Let's choose the perfect spot for our place of power. While I was looking for the specific stone that I'm going to interact with, I found a lot of very interesting decorations that you can put into your level. There were some cool urns with flowers and also really nice arrange of stones. It looks wild. So I left it for later. Probably I will find it a perfect place on my level. And also, you know what I found? I found a huge stone bridge. So if you want to have a look at it, here it is. I have absolutely no use for it, but it's awesome. So please use it. Our next point is correct type of layers. I wanted to put an Yrden place of power. I think you pronounced it Yrden or Erden. I don't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. So if you put it into a wrong level, you will get a warning and notification that you have an error. For the sake of the next tip, I will leave this stone on its place. But remember, if you choose incorrect layer for an object that you can interact with, you will not be able to save your world. And it's bad, right? So here is the message that the system gives you if you're doing something wrong. So I will fix the layer in my next part of the video, and you choose the right one. 10. Match your accent colors. It's actually really significant tip. I would say this is one of the best ones because it creates something that your eye will really like, and you will not be able to explain what's happening, but it looks nice. Maybe it even looks beautiful. But I want to stay humble. So we remember that this Witcher sign has kind of purplish, pinkish glow around it, and the accent color here will be purple or pink. And so if you put it randomly near the object and create some batches of life from the previous tip, you will see that in the game, this piece of terrain will look really nice. It will look magical, and you will want to stay there and hang out a little bit. Finally, we set up the scene. It looks nice. The background is wonderful. The sky is just the detail that we were missing before. This place of power looks wonderful, I think, from every angle. And now it's time to fix the mistake with the layer, and then we will ask Geralt to test it. So I deleted everything and created the quest layer and called it power. So that's identified. And then I did everything again. So I found it in the asset browser and placed it on the terrain. Quick and easy, we already know how to do that. And after finishing this part, I could finally save my world. The very interesting thing here is that the stone has the area, and the area triggers Geralt to say things. So pretty soon we are going to test it as well. So let's fix the weather now. Sorry. And create more rain, because you know I like rain. Everything's great. Let's summon Geralt.
Magic. A place of power.
It's so cool. He actually said it. He actually can do things. I still can't believe it. Okay, let's interact with the stone. Let's find the perfect place. It's working. It's working, guys. Oh my god, this editor brings me so many emotions. I hope those tips that I've learned for the past week helped you a little bit, because I really don't like giving people info dumps when it comes to simple stuff. Thankfully, this modding tool helps us to do some scenes without actually learning the depth of the subject. So that's it for today. Have fun, play video games, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!